We're live. We are live. It's your boy Sutton Death from the Purple Rain podcast, checking in after yet another Ravens loss. The Ravens lose 26-23 at home to the Las Vegas Raiders. An unexpected loss, that's for sure. Um, Unexpected all the way down to like 5 minutes being left in that game, to be honest with you. Crazy stuff. Blowing the 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, unacceptable. Unacceptable. I want to get into it. I want to see everybody who's going to pop in the live chat here. Let me know what your thoughts, comments, concerns were. I'm sure there were a lot of concerns from this game. Drop them down below in the live chat. If you're watching the replay of this post game live stream, hello. Make sure you drop your comments down below. Your thoughts, comments, concerns, questions, whatever you may have. Yeah, this was a rough one. This was a rough one. Ravens lose by 3 points again at home. The game, I think, if I'm just walking through it, let me pull up my notes here actually. I took notes throughout the whole entire game. Uh, the game started out kind of shaky with the offensive line, and that was kind of like a recurring theme throughout the game, to be honest with you. The O line was just getting blown by, especially by Max Crosby. He was basically living in the backfield, and it seemed like there was nothing that we could do about it. Um, And it's primarily that right side of the offensive line, right? That was kind of like the culprit. So Patrick McCary early in the game was just getting spun around by Max Crosby. We had to bring in Roger Rosengarten, who did a little bit better of a job blocking him. So that's a good sign, right? Roger Rosengarten could potentially turn out to be, um, a really good, solid right tackle. One good silver lining from this, right? So another thing in the first quarter, and I think in the first half in general, the offense was way too predictable, right? And this comes down to Todd Monken and John Harbaugh. And John Harbaugh is going to be a common theme of this video. He's going to be a guy that I talk about a lot because I think that he deserves a good deal of the blame for this loss, if I'm being completely honest with you. Um, yeah, I mean, just the first down and 10 runs up the middle with Derrick Henry are just way too telegraphed, if I'm being honest with you. It's just everybody in the stadium can see it coming. And we ran that multiple times in that first half, and I just think that it's not conducive to an offense that's going to throw a defense off of balance. You know what I mean? Like I thought we did a little bit better of a job doing that coming out in the second half. And I'll get to the second half in just a bit, but in that first half, man, you could just kind of like in years past, right? You could kind of guess what the Ravens were going to do with the football next, and that's not something that you want to see. Let me see what you guys are saying in here. Thea Pennell says, "Let me hit that panic button real quick." Yeah, man. I mean, teams who start 0-2, they make the playoffs less than I think 15 to 20% of the time. So Ravens are 0-2. They're up against the analytics for real right now, and it's tough. Easy E, what's going on, brother? Says why haven't the Ben Cleveland replaced Daniel Fa'alele yet? Yeah, I don't know why he hasn't replaced him yet. To be honest with you, I don't know if it's just honestly, I think it's probably like a Harbaugh thing. I think that um, Ben Cleveland is doghouse right now. I think that he's one of those guys who maybe Harbaugh doesn't think that he works hard enough in practice and training camp, things like that, to warrant him getting on the field. And that's a shame because, I mean, that pride from John Harbaugh is keeping Daniel Fa'alele out there and hurting our offense. I mean, you saw late in that game, I think it was late in the fourth quarter, it was a third down, big third down play, right? Or was it a second down? I want to no, it was a first down. It was a first down play. It was one of the last drives, one of the last real drives that the Ravens had, um, to go down and score. And on first and 10, Max Crosby just goes right by Daniel Fa'alele, like pretty much untouched, and sacks Lamar Jackson for a 9-yard loss. And, if Harbs doesn't look at that and say, like, yeah, we need to make a change, then I think that, Steve Bisciotti needs to make a change at head coach and get Harbaugh out of there. That's terrible showing from John Harbaugh today. It was really bad, really bad. Let me see. Sophia Pennell, he corrects me here, says 10% of 0-2 teams are making the playoffs. Yeah, so even worse, man. It's not looking good right now, and especially with the Bengals, Cowboys, and Bills coming up. I know not exactly in that order, but those are three really, really tough teams who, I think could give us way more trouble than the Raiders, especially on offense. This Bengals team, of course, in division, that's always going to be tough. The Bills team, they're running the ball everywhere now. And, we were good stopping the run today. That's the crazy thing. I think we held them to like less than 30 yards rushing total, right? And we still lost the game. That's unacceptable. I mean, the Ravens secondary today did not look good. I'll say that. I said it last week in the Purple Rain podcast episode, and not a lot of people really took stock into what I was saying. But Brock Bowers, he was going to be an issue, and he was a big, big issue in this game. Let me pull up Brock Bowers' stat line really quick because I know he went off. Let me see. Uh, he had to have close to 100 yards, if not 100 yards, man. That guy, like I said, he was going to be a big issue. I was hoping that we could contain him, and turns out we could not. Let me see here from the Raiders. Brock Bowers, 9 catches for 98 yards. Yeah, so last week he had 6 catches for 58 yards. Against us, he had 9 catches for 98 yards. So, I mean, he put 40 more yards on us, and that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing, to be honest with you. And just going down the other stat lines here for their receivers, Davante Adams had 9 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. You're not going to win like that. You're not going to win like that. You let their best players go off on you, and you completely shut down the run. Completely shut down the run, allowed less than 30 yards on the ground total. But down the stretch, the defense kind of broke. And that's another thing. I thought that the defense early in the game, they were kind of like bending but not breaking, bending but not breaking. But like late in that second half, I mean, there's only but so much you can ask your defense to do down the stretch, right? And if the offense is going to be as inconsistent as it is, that's how you lose games. That's a recipe to lose games. If your offense cannot close, you will not win. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. There is no defense that's going to be able to hold down a professional NFL offense for 4 quarters, just in its totality. Totality. Um, it just doesn't happen. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Harb's got to go. Yeah, I'm not going to say he's got to go right now because it's just not going to happen. It's totally unrealistic. If the Ravens did end this season missing the playoffs or having a losing record below 500, then I could see John Harbaugh getting moved off of his spot as head coach because, we've only got one more year of Lamar Jackson being cheap before he becomes a quarter of the Ravens' money. So the Super Bowl window is closing very, very fast. And this is not a good start to a season that we desperately need to do well in. Taquan Christian in the house says, I think the big red button needs to be smashed. Yeah, it's not looking good, bro. Not looking good. Bi Smooth says we chose to pay the safety from Chicago instead of Zeitler and Moses. Yeah, so we brought in Eddie Jackson. We got rid of Moses and Kevin Zeitler, and now that's biting us in the ass, right? Because we cannot, for the life of us, get anything going early in a game. I mean, we were against the Chiefs. We went down and we scored early in that game, but for the most part, didn't really put up any points in the first half, right? And in this game too, put up what 9 points in the first half, all field goals. That's not going to cut it. We have to get to the red zone and we have to score. Simple as that. And again, with Faalele and McCary out there and rotating with Rosengarten, that's a patchwork offensive line. And there's only but so much you can do against the likes of Max Crosby, and we're going to be facing up against Micah Parsons next weekend. And then after that, it's going to be, we're going to be going against Gregory Rousseau and Trey Hendrickson. There's a lot of guys who are going to give this offensive line some trouble if we do not get it together at that position. Mod Roosh says that B Steve pass interference was absolutely bogus, man. I don't think it was, Roosh. I don't think it was. He says that's where it fell apart. No, I think that was definitely pass interference. If you go back and watch that play, they were kind of fighting down the field, right? But Brandon Stephens had both arms around Davante Adams' shoulders, and there was at one point where the ball was in midair, where Davante Adams tried to jerk away from B Steve, but B Steve kind of held him back just a little bit, and that I think is what warranted the penalty. And I totally agree. with the refs call right there. If I'm being completely honest with you, I'm not wearing the purple shades on that one. That was PI. But I tweeted right after that. I mean, that was at the point, it was fourth quarter. The defense was done doing favors for this team. The defense had been stepping up all game, all first half. Big sacks by Kyle Van Noy. Odafe Owe had a big game, right? Marlon Humphrey had a pick. And the offense could not match the same energy that the defense did. That was the issue. That was why the Ravens lost this football game. On top of some of the I'll get into Harbaugh and his challenges in a second here. In a second. Let me see. MDT Sports says your boy Bateman thought he was the number one receiver. Bateman did have a bad drop that turned into an interception. That one I think was kind of like, if I had to say, I would say 75% on Bateman, 25% on Lamar, because Lamar tried to squeeze that into a super tight window, and that's always going to be risky, right? But Bateman, it did hit him in the hands, and I think he tried to close his hands a little bit earlier than he should have, and the ball ended up kind of deflecting off of his hands and into the defenders. So that's what happened there. But then on the very next drive, Bateman comes down and catches a clutch first down. So you can only blame him, but so much. But again, that's just one of those series of unfortunate events. Bi Smooth says opinion on Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker, yeah, man, I tweeted it during the game. I said that I'm not gonna panic on Justin Tucker just yet. I know he didn't even have the chance to tie the ball game at the end there in the fourth quarter, but he missed again from 50 plus, and this is the second week in a row that he's missed from 50 plus, and we're not used to Justin Tucker missing from that distance, and we're used to calling him automat tuck. And like I said, I tweeted earlier, like I'm not gonna hit the panic button on Justin Tucker, but I think he is slowly but surely losing that automat tuck moniker, that nickname that everybody's kind of christened him with in the past decade or so, to be honest with you. Yeah, it sucks, but he's getting a little bit older and the accuracy is waning a little bit. The power is probably going to start to wane a little bit too. And it just is what it is. Got to take it with a grain of salt. But I put more on this offensive play calling, to be honest with you. It seems very inconsistent. This offense never seems to get into a good rhythm. And yeah, that's not good. It's not good. Let me see. Yeah, Rain Gang 5 Lele needs to be gone now. I agree with that. I agree with that. I think we need to go ahead and start Ben Cleveland, start getting him some reps in there before it is too late, right? Spencer says, awful coaching. This O line is garbage. How they even thought this was a good idea is baffling. Yeah, and this is where you kind of got to look at EDC. Like, bro, uh, excuse me, like the offensive line is the most important part. And yes, I did not stutter. The most important part on an NFL offense, because I've said it before on this, on this very channel. You can have all the great skill players that you want, great quarterbacks, great running backs, receivers, tight ends, whatever you want. If that offensive line cannot block, then it makes all of those other weapons a moot point, right? I've frequently made the comparison to building a house, right? You can have great walls, windows, roofs, everything like that. But if you don't have the foundation built underneath, which I'm comparing to the offensive line here, if you don't have that foundation, everything else is going to come crashing down, right? And that's what we saw happen today. Uh, yeah, man, just very, very unfortunate, huge loss, absolutely huge loss. I mean, you lose the home opener, deflating. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but of course they honored Joe D and Jacoby Jones before the game. So lots of emotions going into this one as well. And for the Ravens to come up short yet again, this is second game back to back. It's not like we're getting blown out in these games, right? They're all storybook games, storybook endings, and we just come up just short. Drop your questions down below. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Oh yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about the challenges, right, from John Harbaugh. The John Harbaugh challenges, right? So he had one in each half. Both were just ill-advised, very ill-advised challenge calls. I mean, burning timeouts. I don't know if he has a vendetta against timeouts this season or what, but lately he has been absolutely just missing, whiffing very badly. I almost wish that I could get a job with the Ravens, or I'm sure some of you watching could as well. and just be the guy who tells John Harbaugh whether or not to challenge a play, because a lot of the plays that he challenges are just so obviously not like contested plays. Like it should not be. They're not questionable, right? Like the one earlier. I think what was the one in the first half? The Zay Flowers. I think it was, yeah, the Zay Flowers catch along the sideline where it clearly hits the ground. Clearly hits the ground. Like who upstairs is telling you that? Oh yeah, you need to go ahead and throw the challenge flag on that one. These are all smart guys up, hundreds of feet in the air in a nice air conditioned booth, watching everything from a bird's eye view with TVs and screens everywhere, right? And all of them putting their heads together are saying, "Oh yeah, that ball was caught. You need to challenge that Harbaugh." I get Harbs on the field probably does not have the best angle. He can only look up at the jumbotron, things like that. But those guys up in the booth who are like signaling down to him on whether or not to throw the challenge flag, those guys got to be held accountable for that shit. That's unacceptable. If I'm watching at home and I can clearly see that you should not challenge that because it was an incomplete pass, why are we challenging it and wasting a timeout? Why? You can go to the one in the second half as well, which was a little bit more memorable for me at this point. Devontae Adams along the sideline catches that football, gets both feet in. They called it a catch on the field, which means that if you challenge it, the refs have to go back and find conclusive evidence, right, that that was not a complete pass, that he did not have both feet in. It, it was not obvious. Was it clear and obvious that Devontae Adams did not have 2 feet in? It was not. It was not clear and obvious at all. As a matter of fact, it was clear and obvious that he did have 2 feet in, and we still challenged it, and we lost that timeout. You saw what happened on the very, very last drive of the game. We're trying to nickel and dime our way down the field because we have no timeouts, and we got to score. Ooh, the coaching. The coaching was crazy. The coaching was absolutely crazy in this one, man. I just I don't know what to say, to be honest with you. This offense still has not found its identity. I thought that in the third quarter they did get Derrick Henry going a little bit more. They started running him to the outside some more, but there were a couple of things, a couple of miscues, right? A couple of penalties on us that really really hurt us down the stretch. So I think it was the 3rd and 1 where Derrick Henry he steps he commits a false start penalty and it turns it into 3rd and 6, a 5-yard penalty. And after that turns into 4th down. We punt the ball, and we just kept giving the Raiders life. You know what I mean? Like this team seems to be like we just cannot get out of our own way sometimes, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Let me see what you guys are saying though. Uh, Don Royal says the Ravens should have traded for Stephon Diggs. Bateman is so trash. No, I'm not gonna say Bateman is trash. I'm not gonna say that. He did have that drop there. He should have hauled that one in for sure. That was a bad drop. But yeah, I can't say that he's trash and that we should have went for Stephon Diggs because if I'm being honest with you, I think we would misutilize Stephon Diggs too. So if we can't utilize a Derrick Henry and running the football is what we do primarily, what makes you think that we would utilize the Stephon Diggs correctly? Please let me know, Don, because I don't. Spencer says time to talk about the OC not impressed 2 years in. Spencer, here's the thing. All of last season was awesome, right? Let us not forget we went to the AFC Championship game in Todd Monken's first year as an offensive coordinator for this team. And we had one of the biggest point differentials as well. I mean, we were blowing teams out. We were scoring a lot of points, and as respect to our defense and Mike McDonough, who I wish was our head coach right now, our defense was playing really well too. So I can't say that I'm not impressed. I think that right now we it's either that the Ravens are lacking an identity or the rest of the league is just kind of caught up to what the Ravens want to do philosophy wise on offense, right? Like I've heard it a million times. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to sell out and stop the run, right? And then on obvious passing downs, we want to get the Ravens into obvious passing downs. We want to cage rush Lamar Jackson. That's all we want to do. Because Lamar Jackson is not the type of quarterback who is going to uh, throw his receivers open, throw with a bunch of anticipation, right? And really cook um, in obvious passing downs in the way that like an Aaron Rodgers would dot up your defense, or a Tom Brady used to dot up your defense, right? He's just going to he's going to look for the big play. He's going to look for whatever is wide open, and that's where he's going to go with the football. But yeah, man, it's it's tough. It's tough right now. I have a lot to say, and I want to save a lot for what I want to say for tomorrow's episode of the show when I have Alex with me too. So I don't want to say too much, but Dre says he can't throw the ball to himself. I agree there, Dre. I agree. The panel says Bateman is a first-round draft pick. He averages 30 yards and no touchdowns a game. How is that not trash? I want to say it's not trash because look, people said J.K. Dobbins wasn't good. J.K. Dobbins was overrated. He needs to go. We can move him. It wouldn't hurt us. And you see what J.K. Dobbins is doing right now. Over 100 yards in back-to-back games and touchdowns in back-to-back games. I firmly believe if Rashad Bateman were to go to another team, let's just say he were to go to the Jets or the Rams or a team like that, right? He would absolutely flourish. He might become a wide receiver one. It's just with the type of offense that we run and the type of quarterback that we have. Rashad Bateman does not fit in this offense. It does not fit. That's just what it is. So I can't agree with you there, Theopinal. Bateman's not trash. He's not trash. He consistently gets open, gets separation. He's just not getting looked at. He's not the first option. He's not the second option. And hell, sometimes he's not even the third option. So yeah, I can't say he's trash, bro. I can't. Let me look over some more of my notes here before I close this. Let me see. Oh yeah, let me talk about this. Into the second quarter, some more coaching stuff, right? The field goal that we took with 7 seconds left in the second quarter, we were on the 14-yard line, the Raiders' 14-yard line, and John Harbaugh decided to kick a field goal with 7 seconds left. It was tie ball game. That was probably the softest call that I've seen from the Ravens in the past couple of seasons. I felt like with 7 seconds, you tell Lamar Jackson, hey, look, make a quick read, go to the end zone. If you have to throw it high and away, throw it high and away, but give somebody a chance, right? We've got Isaiah Likely, we've got Mark Andrews. I would have put both of those tight ends on the field, had them going to opposite sides of the field, guarantee one of them to get one-on-one coverage, and throw it up to him, give him a chance, right? Lamar, make a good throw. If you miss the throw and it's an interception, fine. We'll live with that. We'll go into halftime as a tie ball game. But if we have the chance to get a touchdown right here and then do a 2-for-1 and go back and get the ball in the third quarter and score again, I think the analytics would have told you to go for it right there with 7 seconds left. But again, that's another thing. It's just me. I thought that was a very, very soft play call. Again, I'll talk about it more tomorrow on the show. Derrick Henry, I thought that Derrick Henry was the utilization of Derrick Henry in the first half was absolutely pathetic. Pathetic. I mean, it looked like we had no idea what to do with Derrick Henry. It looks like we're trying to use Derrick Henry with like our offhand, right? Like it's not natural. It doesn't look natural. I mean, he's getting tackled in the backfield. A lot of this has to do with the lack of run blocking from the offensive line, which is why I also think that Ben Cleveland should get the nod over Daniel Falele so we can start running to the right a little bit more. But once we started with the outside runs and to the left specifically, we saw some success with Derrick Henry. We even saw that reception in the first half where he takes it for I think over 10 or 12 yards, something like that. We need to see more of that. We do. But most importantly, overall, we just need to see more consistency out of this offense. I mean, there's too many miscues, too many penalties bringing back big plays. And at the same time, I also think that Lamar Jackson, he's holding on to the ball just a little bit too long. He's holding the ball a little bit too long, and that's an issue for me. I need him to get rid of that football quicker, and he just hasn't lately. So everybody, there's a lot of blame to go around. I'll say that. A lot of blame to go around. Can't just point the finger at any one person, but if I am looking at somebody right now, I got to look at John Harbaugh because the challenges that led to the lack of timeouts in back-to-back games now have led to losses. The fact that we cannot stop the clock down the stretch has led to losses in back-to-back games. And that's due to these ill-advised challenges that It's totally unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Um, Doom says O line and head ball coach all day. Yeah, those are. I think if I had to put the onus of this loss on two entities, it would be O line and head coach. O line, head coach, and yeah, that's really it right there. That's really it. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there for this stream, this post game stream. I just kind of wanted to go ahead and check in with you guys here. If you're part of the replay gang on this one, thank you so much. Make sure you guys like the video. If you're watching this right now, like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We will be coming out with a new episode of the Purple Rain podcast tomorrow, a full-length episode, hour-long episode. Alex, my Simply as 10 and myself, we will be covering this whole game, breaking down whether or not it is time to hit the panic button. You've heard it here from me first. I do think it's time to hit the panic button just because of the less than 10% of teams making it to the playoffs who start 0-2. That's something right there. But we'll see what Alex has to say tomorrow. Again, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. Yeah, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Stay positive, test negative, and don't ever, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest days like today, to call God. I'm going to catch you guys